Welcome to Catalyzing Change Week. This year's Catalyzing Change Week is about solutions from the front lines by social innovators.
In 2022, Catalyst 2030 concentrated its efforts on bringing proximate leaders and frontline solutions to the forefront. Collaborations led by members from the Global South produced groundbreaking reports on climate and transforming education, with an emphasis on offering local solutions. We continued our mission to create an enabling environment for social entrepreneurs to flourish by initiating a letter to donors, signed by more than 1,200 social entrepreneurs and innovators. The Catalyst 2030 awards ceremony was spectacular, and the awards themselves welcomed by the private sector, governments, bio multilaterals and donors.
Catalyst 2030 as a movement is disruptive.
One of the best things I think that's come out of Catalyst 2030 so far is incredible collaboration across the ecosystem that just didn't exist before Catalyst came into being.
The thing I love most about Catalyst is that it's an open movement for social entrepreneurs around the world.
I'd encourage anyone who's looking to be more connected with their local communities around social development goals to come along to Catalyzing Change Week.
Welcome to Catalyzing Change Week.
Okay, we want to say thank you very much for that beautiful video that introduces Catalyst 2030. We are assembled here today to discuss the topic due process of law for everyone. And we have our inspiring speakers, the panelists that will lead us through this session. And we will take the time, the next 5 minutes for introduction, where we will be introducing our panelists. And then we'll also hear from them much more of who they are. So they will also have the opportunity to introduce themselves briefly. To begin with, we have Councillor Sonefu S. Sherry. Councillor Sherry is a professional lawyer who has worked for the Liberian government in several capacities. On the Ministry of Information, he served as defense lawyer at the Temple of Justice, and he was also fortunate to serve as a prosecuting lawyer at the Ministry of Justice. He has had history of winning several cases at the level of the court. So we are very glad to have him in our midst to discuss in-depth analysis on the due process of law and its overview. Following that, we also have in our midst an outstanding, young, energetic police officer who over the period has been working very hard and in recent time was honored by receiving the International Service Award. Samuel G. Ford is the Assistant Commissioner of Police for Community Services and an astute law enforcement personnel who was trained by the United Nations mission in Liberia. He is very passionate about the police service, and he's also a candidate for a postgraduate diploma in peace building and conflict transformation at the Rotary Peace Fellowship at Makerere University Center in Uganda. He's an expert peace builder, very passionate about changing the minds and attitudes of the young people of Liberia by embarking on several peace building initiatives through organization, solving complex problems in communities, and much more. Assistant Commissioner Samuel Ford is a husband and loving father. He has received several honors and awards, amongst which he was named the 2019 Liberia Integrity Icon by the Accountability Lab. We are very pleased and fortunate to have Samuel G. Ford as a panelist of this session to discuss with us the due process of law. Why is the due process of law important? If so, what are the challenges confronting the implementation of the due process of law by law enforcement agencies? And what are those tough solutions that are necessary to address issues confronting the due process of law? So we'll be hearing from all panelists sharing their perspectives on the just ended analysis of due process of law. Among those panelists, we have Janet Briggs. Janet Briggs is an advocate with over 12 years of experience working in the youth community. Currently, she is the founder and executive director for Potential Leader for Sustainable Future, that is championing the cause of women's education and empowerment and advocating for the inclusion of people living with disability in leadership through the provision of mentorship and skill training programs. Janet Briggs also won the 2020 COVID-19 Bureau Award on the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf Presidential Center for Women and Development. She holds a bachelor's degree in public administration from the Episcopal Methodist University. Currently, she's a 2021 Medina Washington Fellow. Janet is a 2020 graduate of the Kofi Annan Institute of Conflict Transformation at the University of Liberia. She has had several experiences as far as being a female advocate who is very passionate about women's education and empowerment. She uses her platform to advocate for women's rights and inclusion of people living with disability in leadership. Her vision is to motivate and inspire more women to be experts in the area of profession. We also have a short bio of James Wapanga, who will be joining us online. James Wapanga is the Vice President for Operations, Bond University Student Association. He holds a BA degree in sociology from the United Methodist University. He has a certificate and is a trainer in interpersonal therapy and Kennedy for public health, in a master's degree Kennedy for public health. We also have with us Patrick Julie, who is a panelist for this session. He's a communication officer for the Potential Leader for Sustainable Future, a climate activist with knowledge in fundamental principles of human rights, honor protection laws, protection actors incorporated. He's also a member of the largest network, Activista Liberia, Honor Action Aid Liberia, a trained feminist that support gender equality. And he will be sharing his perspective on the recent data collected by the conglomeration of civil society organizations under the banner of Candidates 2030 that conducted surveys to enhance the rights and restoration of rights of pretrial detainees as it relates to their well-being and legal interests. Thank you very much. That does it for the introduction of our panelists, and we will want to give the panelists the opportunity to share a little light about themselves, not discussing the topic yet, but to allow them to introduce themselves in much more deeper sense that we will hear from them themselves. That said, we want to call on Councilor Sonny Sheriff, who is the keynote speaker, to tell us a little bit about who he is and his experiences.
Good afternoon. I, just as the moderator said to some extent, correctly call my name, but the initial of my introduction that I serve as a lawyer and minister information is a little skip from what it is. At the Ministry of Information, yes, I worked as an assistant minister, special assistant. I lived at the time was a minister. And when I left that particular ministry, that was the year I became a lawyer. I served as public defender for Washington County for 6 years, starting from 2006 to 2012, when I was hired by the Ministry of Justice to serve as consultant. And I was in that capacity of 2018. My service was no longer needed. And so for now, I'm a private lawyer, and I sit on Broad Street somewhere in my office. And I cater for people who have issues. Having said that, the topic that's supposed to be discussed, as the moderator has just said, is due process. Due process, before the definition of due process, I would say this: due process is a hallmark of democracy. It you don't have due process, you have nothing for democracy. Most of the conflicts we have, especially in Africa or third world countries, is as a result of people not adhering to the rights of the people. But the rights of the people begins at due process. That is, you must have the person, you know, he must have a day input before a tribunal, and a tribunal in this sense meaning that either with the police or with the court or with any hearing, so I'm referring to as a tribunal. And so due process, according to American jurisprudence, is a concept or is a method that years before it condemns. It proceeds upon inquiry and render judgment only after trial. That is, you cannot render judgment on a person or accused person. You get judgment, say you are guilty because as you look, or because of your character, etc., etc. You must have this person appearing before a competent court of jurisdiction. In Liberia, we have a court system. I mean, a court system like very stratified. The police is part of the court system, I would say, because even though it's part of the justice sector, but it's part of the court system, especially when it comes to the criminal cases. Because all criminal cases, especially the capital offense cases or felonies, begin with the police. It's where due process actually begins. By the time we arrest the suspect, that person's rights must be observed. In other words, the law says that you must first of all be told his rights. Although the police officer is here professional out here, we call it Miranda rights. The Miranda rights are, I mean, you tell the person, no, you have the right to a lawyer. You have the right to keep, not to even make any statement, etc. And any statement that may be used against you in a court of law. And so that when the defendant or the suspect insists to make a statement, even at that, the law says, you know, I think on the Constitution, this person must be confronted by those who accuse him or her. In other words, he must also have a lawyer present. In many instances, without investigation by the police, they are trying their best, but we still have some challenges. I'm not speaking for them because I'm the partisan lawyer. They have to be, I mean, the lawyer must always be called. The suspect should be asked, do you have a lawyer? Yes, I have a lawyer. Or I don't have a lawyer. And the law says, if the person doesn't have a lawyer, the institution, either the court or the police will provide one. Or if the person is so it chooses to make a statement, that should be guarded. It should be guarded as well, so that his or her rights should not be infringed on. So due process is what you all should be very careful. Now, when it comes to arrest of people, I saw an issue in the whole process in the I think better intro this and talk about the prison. What is happening at the prison today in Liberia? Institutions are doing their best, but the challenges are there really come from mainly, I believe, is the prosecution. The prosecution arm of the government is one that has to accept itself a little more. Because mind you, all criminal cases begin with it is the prosecution that prosecutes. And so when you believe that this person has said, I mean, this case doesn't have any merit, do proceed to court. Or in an event you proceed to court, and this person is remanded in prison, and then you don't have the evidence to either indict the person or try the person, then obviously it behooves you, as somebody who believes in due process, to either move back to court and tell the court, Your Honor, I don't think we have the evidence for now. Okay, what is best for us to do is to not prosecute this matter. In other words, not prosecute itself is not an end, may not be an end in itself. That is, when you not prosecute a matter before the court, you still have the right in an event where in the future you gather evidence. You can still come against this person. And then the law says in our case that according to our jurisprudence in Liberia, you know, we have 4 terms of court and in the criminal assassin or the criminal courts. You have a February term, which is the first one a year. You have a May term. You have the August term, and we have the November term. The law says when you arrest somebody in a term, for instance, where we are right now is the February term because the May term has not begun. A term begins from the second Monday. So May term has not come. Now we are in the February term. When you arrest somebody in this term, the law says by the end of the next succeeding term, which is May term, you must have indicted this person. It further says that in an event where you indict the person, by the end of the next succeeding term, that person should be tried. But sometimes people are in jail or more than forever, except some lawyer with some charity or interest will move in and file a series of motions against the prosecution. What this will happen. Therefore, if the prosecution sees that look, we don't have case, bring the INCHR go and drop this case against it. When you do that, you'll be within the framework of the due process of law. Okay, there's some people who has passed on a lot of cases in Liberia. I'm sure also other common law jurisdiction like America, Britain, etc. They all have done so. And so it is those institutions or those countries that will capture the law firm. And so due process, according to Supreme Court of Liberia, is a process that there must be a competent tribunal to pass on the subject matter, okay, proper notice, and what either constructive or action, and an opportunity to appear and produce evidence. When the law says, when Supreme Court opinion says actual or constructive meaning that they make an assignment, they give you notice, and you fail to appear. It means that you're constructively served. So you cannot come after that when the court comes down with a ruling. You can't come and claim that your due process was violated. No. Okay. Actual is where you are served and you appear. When you appear, you should be told your crime or why you are brought before the court. Okay. That of course will feel that you must have a lawyer as well. You must have a lawyer to represent yourself, except where the law will provide that you can go what the court will say. That is, you can lawyer for yourself, in other words. That is, you can say, I don't trust any lawyer in Liberia. If the court, finds out from you that look, you can to actually, do you know the legalese, do you know the implications of your representation? When you say, oh, the court will not impose, a lawyer on you, you have to appear. But then at that time, you are taking a very huge risk. And then you cannot say after that you didn't have due process. But in an event where the court fails to give you the right to answer, they assign any public defender to you, no lawyer, and just say let's go ahead and then have trial. After that, of course, that is what we call due process. Another aspect of due process is habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is where somebody is arrested. Is arrested by some authority of government, and then the person, is not going to court to be charged. Maybe you do that, you arrest a person. If, for instance, even if the police does that, after 48 hours, as provided by the Constitution of Liberia, then obviously, anybody who is interested in that particular moment, it should be a public defender or social worker, can petition the court and file a habeas corpus. The law provides for that. Our Constitution is very clear on that. Very clear that it is the only writ that does not have a formal way of presentation before the court. In other proceedings, for instance, if you are filing some complaint, you must have a complaint, you have an affidavit attached, it will be signed here and there. A lot of things, a lot of embellishments are there, but when it comes to habeas corpus, the law says you can even file it, you can even write it on a piece of paper, a piece of sheet, even on leaf, because it has to do with somebody being detained against his or her will beyond the statutory period of 48 hours. With that, you can move to court and ask the court to bring this person. And invariably, when that particular motion or that petition is filed before the court will always, after proceeding to some finding, you will always maintain or demand for the holding institution to produce the living body on that particular court. And then generally, the police will come with the person and say, okay, here's the individual. But I'll tell you, there's some scenario around that. What they do is that sometimes police too can have some challenges. But I would as prosecutor, I can be an advisor. I would be seconded there to advise them on how to judge, suspects. And so sometimes you realize that the particular suspect, the evidence has not been gathered. And so what they do is to sometimes allow somebody to sign for the person to go. So you come into a court with your habeas corpus and say, you have been more than 48 hours. When the police allow you to sign where you went home, you said where you ate, you were with your family. Can you come now and claim habeas corpus at the ground? Sometimes they could be funny, but what they do, however, is to give a mandate to that to the person according to the police to like do a day or so that the person can be venue. And so as I said, in every investigation, I said it before, but we reiterate it, which is very cardinal, is that whenever a defense or a suspect before any investigating institution, the law says that person must have a lawyer. That lawyer must be present. Okay, and must give the person all the opportunity. Because you don't know. Mind you, when somebody is arrested, that person is what? Presumed innocent. I'm not saying it is civil law jurisdiction. They say when you are arrested, I mean you are presumed guilty until you can prove the contrary. But here on a common law jurisdiction where we are, like here at a lot of countries around the world, I mean the person who is arrested, the person is innocent. You know, even if he or she goes to court and says, I'm not seeing anything for the police to hear it, that is the person's right. That is due process. And so the time, I honestly have 15 minutes. I don't know how much time has, so that because this is a very huge topic. Actually, even an hour or so cannot really exhaust all. But we can force here if we have any we can make elaboration.
Thank you. So we all listen to the counselor explanation on due process, in-depth analysis. All the time is very short, but you try to capture the key points and measure many things. So we all listen well. Is there any question that you have that you go to the counselor and then you are welcome. Have questions.
I'm precious and I work for you. Thank you so much. Actually, on the curve. When you spoke about the terms, you said that there are 4 terms. If you please talk about that, with the relation of the terms.
Okay, in Liberia we have a full they are stratified. You have some people that are starting, you have certain people in the middle, and then you have the mature folks. We don't have what they call JP, but the JP folks are not written down. That JP folks are less of zone for the mature folks. Okay, so the term does not actually affect the mature folks. Mature folks is a daily basis, something that you have to do. But they are the first book of history. Right? That is, they got all the cases from first before they are safety. You know, they are safety and then the relevant cases both research both. Now, in the second book, the criminal codes that they want to talk about, the criminal code. Or the second code, because in most of our country, you have it's qualified as second code and criminal codes for the criminal assassins. You have in most of our country, you have criminal as A or the F. Criminal code A is not the ideas, cases of murder, criminalization, alleged assault, murder, etc. Arson. So arson confines somebody's will or somebody can move forward. Now, criminal code B and criminal code A try the same cases, the same kind of cases. Criminal code C tries the 10 million cases, whatever. Etc. Criminal code D is number D that is okay. Now the other codes are just named beside the criminal code E. All the books open on the second morning of February. You know what I'm saying? And between there and the second morning of May, all hearings are done. Okay. Then after the May term of court begins on the second morning. It runs, as I said, up to August the second morning. You know, so when I see the court is closed, I don't know. Sometimes for 2 days exhausted by the court, it closed. I mean, even though you have some hearing, for you, there will normally be no jury trial, except like children have already done. Okay? So that's what we call the terms of court. Now, the civil law court, I mean, it's different emotionally. The civil law court opens, the first is March. March term of court, June term of court, September term of court, and December term of court. We only have one civil law court, but now they are divided into two. We are A and B now, and the temple of justice. Okay, these are the terms of what I'm talking about. That's what people have to make two terms. So people have what the March term and the October term. These are the two terms that some people operate. But some people term in March begins the term money. In March, the term money in October. So between now, the March term open, we were in there 2 months ago. We run up to some time, and sometime coming towards July, August, will close. And then thereafter, October term begin. But around they have recess. But if they don't have recess, we have a number of these. So people are actually making recess. You are some people that don't. So what I do is we have less than 1 month of rest. But it will go sometimes 1 week to the open, in the university. Okay, for your question, I hope that will be
my name is Dawn. I work for you. So I have one question and 2 questions. So I came late this morning, so help me to get connected to the overview of and then my question is I heard you talking about the scope of the paper called, sorry about yeah, I cannot pronounce it well, I'm not a lawyer. So he said that they can be 5 within 48 hours. So many, sorry, I'm just trying to not say it. Yeah, so many times you find that Nigerians in our sessions they say that after 3 days, it's going to take us support. So I want to know the difference between that 42 hours and that 7 hours.
Yeah, okay.
First thing. Then the next thing I want to know, if you practice with the whole thing on if you have hearing on cases that are being forwarded to court, when the court is closed, let's say it's closed for the February, and then you have an issue within the 3 days or 2 days or so, and it's being called to court.
Yes, the court is always open for religious purposes. Now, religious purposes, and actually, we're talking about the court is closed for joint trials. And also regular trials when the merits of cases are settled. Merit, if I emotional, it's not a merit. Merit meaning what it means to become a testify. Merit, everybody goes out to produce evidence. Now, that's what the merit is. When the case is found with merits, it means that the person trying to compare with the complainant, the other person trying to proceed the other answer, etc. They go down to trial. When the plaintiff will produce the evidence that in a criminal case, the government is the plaintiff. You are the victim. You are not a plaintiff. You are a witness. For instance, if somebody dies, then just some assault. At the victim, for instance, when you tell the complaint to the police, you are no longer a plaintiff. You guys are okay. When the court of general is the plaintiff. Because the law says, and individual who did the perimeter of the country, we are here in the country that is first. So the court, you always say the Republic of Nigeria versus the 20. Now you become a private prosecutor. You are a witness. We are a woman that you now private prosecutor. CRX, okay, the 2R is for you. Okay. So if your question, if somebody has, for instance, if the court has closed, or somebody has hurt somebody, then you go to court. Mind you, most of the cases start with the magistrate, which I said is only on a daily basis, on regular basis. That is from Monday to Saturday. Only Sunday courts, Saturday is a legal holiday. So you don't use any case to report, and Sunday is a legal holiday. Okay, so that is that. Now you come to behaviors couples. Behaviors couples can be filed throughout the year. Yeah, there's no abeyance or no kind of higher or insurance where this particular identified. That's why I said we know the stress to behaviors couples as the highest rate. There's no rate in the Republic of Nigeria that is as high as behavior couples. That is, it doesn't have any formality. But why you somebody's life is at stake? Somebody is illegal outside of the law. Okay? And then the law is so you have run to the court, Your Honor. My son, my sister, and then my XYZ is being held by the police outside of 48 hours, 2 days. Or by some institution, the DEA, you don't have no institution at all. You are holding cells now, right? Of course, when you hold your family person or the parent member, you have the right to go to court. You can even sit. Like you have to be a lawyer to file it. You know what I'm saying? You can file it to the court. The court is not going to say, no, file it about the phone lines. It's better for a lawyer to file it. And they don't want to go on the same facts. But if it is urgent, they assume that was the case. They are about to kill the person. The person is being intimidated or not intimidated, being tortured. You got moving in front of him. No lawyer for you. Well, are you going to sit there and wait on the law will not pay you to sit and wait for the come fight? The law says you can move the court and tell it, oh, Your Honor, my son is in the custody of people. They have no right to go. They want to say that's it. So many they don't come for your aid to the final people for rates. Oh yeah, when the police arrest you that exceeds 48 hours. You know what I'm saying? They are not saying oh yeah, today for instance, but when they arrest you, what time do you have right now? The number one. Okay. That is on Thursday, right? That way by Saturday, the same hour, if it goes 1 second outside of the time, they have exceeded it 20 hours. You have to report.
Yeah, Patrick, another question. You're talking about the issue of due process. It's come back in society. How important to society is due for the procedure of due process? And on the flip side, what it does to society when you only dispense justice based on it or economic repercussions?
You know what I'm saying? You only have due process justice for people who are well placed, who are money. In other words, obviously we have to have, a very society that we have with better.
I want to know if I'm taking to court as a detainer and I'm still a lawyer, who is responsible to provide the lawyers?
I think I stated that for time everything. They give 15 minutes to obey. You don't have Not what? Because everybody, nobody knows just from the plan. Now, most of them were all indigent. Okay, there were people who didn't have money. You don't have money, that's what the law says. It's not because you don't have money, so you don't have justice. No, that is supposed to be put out by the law. You must have it. Today, we have lawyers, a lot of mature. So, they're not mature. You have a point and a city. I know you don't have circuit. All circuits that you have committed. They are accused. They said we are not just many people have the illusion belief that when I'm accused and I take government and government because we are government people probably like government person, I mean therefore lie and kill people and no, I was there. So I've read it on both sides. I've been probably doing it for 6 years for the 5 years. Successful. So maybe I know what I'm talking about. In fact, you see a conference thinking that I mean the president you I don't know what instance was this. I have one trial, I will be this defendant that that I was equal guidance for prosecution. You know, the deal of the argument came with a very huge notion that everybody started all kinds of sentences. The stupid boy, say they are competition. The one I was in a way of me, if you run zero or you don't want to sit there or that would not have been you know, for them they said that I was really I was going after the justice. Or after the argument, what I wanted is then I'm sure they look at the law different after that, right? I mean, I'm sure they are still in yes. I'm sure that they are looking at the law differently. So now they have to please don't enjoy it. I'm not saying you don't have any factors or in everything. Okay. But generally, I would say about many of them the lawyers will never say, oh, let me tell you, lawyers are not independent themselves. We have what we call women ethics committee. Judges themselves are not ends in themselves. We have a judicial inquiry committee, the system of people. Both institutions are there. When I hire you, for instance, in the event is hiring you, and you're not a lawyer, you are not licensed. Okay, you are not licensed than me. You know, the current lesson of 2022 was hard. And I having to squander your kids. In other words, I take your money and consume it. And then make annual representation. I mean, you can go and take it to the judicial inquiry. Suspend you or you define, I mean, you can make it a number. You have to try and work professional. That's what I'm saying. So I'm ready to keep a very, good perspective or good mind.
So the next speaker should, since we have in our president already the commissioner for police, we want to seize this time to invite Janet Riggs, who will be joining us from Canada, to give her own perspective on the due process of law. Then we go to our in-person speaker. Janet Riggs, are you there? Okay, while she's not there yet, then we will want to call on Assistant Commissioner of Police, Samuel G. Ford, who will be trading us on why the due process of law is important, what are the challenges confronting the implementation of the due process of law, and what are his thoughts of possible solutions that are necessary to ensure the due process of law. So before we go there or to call on Dr. Samuel Ford, we would like to read out this this particular message, which is the foundation of this discussion, as our sister asked back there. People detained for so long without being sentenced violate their human rights, which is further exacerbated by overcrowding in prisons. Cartels 2030 member organizations led by the Citizens Bureau for Development and Productivity are engaging the Ministry of Justice to help deal with what the ministry considers as a burden in terms of medication, feeding, transportation, and prisoner sleeping in ships. Everyone deserves a fair trial in a competent court of jurisdiction. According to the Independent National Commission on Human Rights, INCHR, police officers and magistrates frequently detain citizens owing money to a complainant. The INCHR reported magistrate judges continue to issue warrants of arrest without approval of the city solicitors. Our collaboration, Detained Justice Action Collab, is working with defense lawyers to release pretrial detainees who offense may spending not more than 6 or 12 months in jail, for example, instead are languishing beyond bars long overdue, as well as to dialogue with the competent authorities over the need to establish a fast-track court to try all alleged rape and other crimes for which pretrial detainees are kept beyond bars, exceeding the statutory period required under the rule of law. As it is currently evident by our recent data collection regarding pretrial detainees, is more like the rule of men as opposed to the rule of law. Unfortunately, when the state is lacking the ability to ensure speedy trial and punishment of wrongdoing according to law, then it undermines justice for both the victims and the perpetrators. This is so because the defendant also have rights under the law. Implementation of the due process of law is required to correct all abnormalities with the rule of law. That said, we now call on Assistant Commissioner Samuel Ford to respond.
Thank you so much. To the guests, we want to say welcome. All of you are here once again. First, by the way of introduction, I am Assistant Commissioner of Police of Community Services at the Liberia National Police. And my roles and responsibilities is to be able to bridge the gap between the police and that of the community, to be able to partnership with the community in fighting crimes and other social vices. So I come from a background of 18 years of experience in law enforcement, and of course, 15 years of expertise in peace and conflict transformation. So that's my main area of concentration. The legal counsel gave some important issues, which of course I would just like to expand with regards to the importance of the due process of law. We all talk about due process of law, due process of law. The question that many may ask, is it really in reality? Do people actually get the process of process of law in the due process aspect? Within the criminal justice systems, we have 3 components: the police, which is the first, the court, and that of the correction. These 3 actors within the criminal justice system play a significant role in the due process of law, as the counsel said earlier, with the police. I would just want to emphasize what the due process of law is actually. It is a fundamental principle of all fairness, keyword fairness, within all legal proceedings, both in the criminal justice system and that of the civil justice system. Fairness. What happens if, for example, we have Mr. John Kama, who comes from the poor background, and we have Mr. Mohammed, who comes from the rich background. 2 people went to the police station and leveraged a complaint. The poor man, for example. And then the police officer feel reluctant because probably that particular individual does not have the labor to be able to facilitate the process. Are we destroying the process of due process of the police officer. Due process also comes with the issue of equality before the law, what we call the rule of law. In the rule of law, we say that nobody is above the law, regardless of your affiliation, regardless of your status in society, regardless of wherever you find yourself in, everybody should be equal before the law. That's the reason why you went to the temple of justice. For some of you who listening from maybe different countries, the context may be the same, especially from the African perspective. If you went at the temple of justice, you see the lady with the brown face, with all the sword, all those things have meaning. While the justice is blind, the law is blind, the law takes everyone equal. But the question remains whether people have fairness when it comes to the issue of due process. And there where the problem lies. When we try to discriminate within the criminal justice system, where we give into preferential treatment to people based on their status in society, then we say the due process of law have been tampered with. So it is important that in every sector of our society, everywhere, in every jurisprudence, people must get fair trial in any proceeding of cases in court. Fair trial. The law should not be able to discriminate people because I feel that this person doesn't have the leeway to be able to facilitate this process. The council spoke of legal defense counsel, public defender. Today, do we see that happening at the level of the police? Because at every stage of due process, the accused person must have a public defender at the level of the police station to be able to facilitate the process of the law. The due process of the law starts from the time the police arrest, wherein the person's rights have to be read to them, the Miranda's rights, wherein the person's human rights and their dignity must be respected under the due process of law. Do we see that happening in most of our jurisprudence within the judicial cycle? It may not be only in Liberia, but other parts of the country, other parts of the world. Do we actually see that happening? Some may say no, some may say yes, some is debatable. Some we see that in the close range. So when the police begin their arrest, they must be able to gain and state that Miranda's right. These are the processes we're talking about. Police do not arrest on probable, police must arrest, on probable cause. Meaning that I cannot just see the person and say based on suspicion because you look at this, you look at that person, then I say, man, you are under arrest. No. So due process requires two forms. We have what we call the procedural due process, and we have what we call the substantive due process. And in the procedural due process, people will ask, is there fairness? People will want to understand whether their person will have fair trial. And in the substantive due process, people want to ask, why is the reason why the police is arresting Mr. Khan? Is there a cause? Is there a reason for this person to be arrested? So due process comes with a whole lot of legal implication with regards to the rights of the individual. Must be respected at all costs. The right to fair trial, the right to legal counsel, the right to telephone call, and the right to remain silent. But if a police officer is, for example, maybe torturing an individual to make confession, is that due process? When the man wants to take a telephone call to call legal counsel, then the policeman take the phone from the man and say, you're not entitled to call. Is that due process? When the policeman meet the man and just right away begin to upright him make him look like he's not a human being, probably beat on him and do all kinds of things. Is that due process? So these are things that put the entire judicial system on the spotlight when it comes to the due process of law. So why is it important? It is important because we want to know and understand that a person that the policeman will arrest, that's not the reason in legal proceedings. You have to be very mindful. There must be evidence. The display of evidence must be gathered by the police before there must be in law we call a prima facie. I'm not a lawyer, but a prima facie must be able to exist that will link the man to the commission of the crime alleged. In the absence of that, the police cannot proceed with that individual to court without any evidence. So beyond all reasonable doubts, it must be said at the level of the court that this person did the particular crime in accordance with principle. So the due process of law comes with all of those elements that must be established because we don't want for the wrong person who did not commit a crime as tend to be corrected. In most cases, like in America, even the great United States, there are people who went to jail for an offense that they did not commit. And at the end of the day, through maybe 15, 25 years, 50 years, before the police can be actually know the real actual person who committed that crime. Due process of law. So within that aspect, it must be very clear and understanding that people who commit the act must have their day in court, must be investigated properly. The police must do due diligence to be able to ascertain the evidence that that person may have committed the crime. So that's why in most cases, people will want to know, people want to ask, people continue to be anxious. And in due process, sentiments cannot be placed in most cases, that people come to placard because of maybe some, maybe whatever, somebody come and say, oh, that's why I say it is alleged. Before any crime is committed, the police will not say you are a criminal yet. You understand? Remember, the law says that a person is what presumed innocent until otherwise proven guilty in the court of competent jurisdiction. So we can't stand with placard, we can't really cry and whatever. So for that reason, should we say because women are crying and people are doing, should we say that the person committed the crime will all carry to due process? No. So these are some of the record evidence and challenges that we see. Another aspect of challenge has to do with the 48-hour period with the police. Do the police have ample time to be able to arrest a perpetrator who may have committed a crime, real heinous crime? That is the reason why in most cases, the police will sometimes allow that 48-hour people to work, to move ahead. And that is the specific aspect that the lawyer talks about. In that aspect, you can be able to follow a call or complaint or habeas corpus against the police. Meaning that you want to see the living body of that person that the police have kept in detention without due process of law. So these elements of challenges go to the level of the court. You have a lot of cases on the docket of the court. Pretrial detention, detainees. People are in Maria Central Prison and other compound jail facilities will not be tried. And they are there almost like the person is already been convicted. If you went at the court, at the temple, at the Maria Central Prison, you see people there. What did you do? The other person fought, and then I'm here. My case will not be attended to how long you be here for 10 years, 5 years, 16 years. Do we have public defender or legal counsel given rights to be able to speak on behalf of those people? Because it is their right to try. It is their right to fair trial and fair treatment under the jurisdiction of our law. So these are the challenges that we see today that is happening. You understand? People are not being fairly treated. police state preferential treatment. People call it political interferences. These are some of the things that cause the law to not be able to respect the due process in our activities in implementation of the law. Then we talk about what are some of those solutions. Now, I'm happy to say that I am part of the ADR committee at the Ministry of Justice, resolution, which of course it is one aspect that the Ministry of Justice tried to introduce so that all of these issues that we are faced with under the due process of law can be alleviated. Like I talk about pretrial detention, like I talk about some petty cases, like maybe what we talk about misdemeanor crime. You understand? Like simple assault. Those cases, small cases, like maybe somebody owe you, I understand, $15, $20. It came to the amount. You now have amount of maybe 10 million or 15 million. We were talking about a amount maybe from 15,000 down. We have an alternative dispute resolution. An alternative dispute resolution is a win-win situation. That's why, as part of my job as a community policing expert, many times I've visited the police depot, the police station, the charge of all. And sometimes these people really wanted or really want a resolution. Let me just give you one example. When I was working at the Memorial Central Prison as police officer assigned, I was at the Memorial Central Prison, and one guy who lived in the community, he got stabbed right on his right hand with a knife by his fiancée. That him started running into the central prison, go where it sounded. He said, "Officer, I have a problem. This problem is that my fiancée were discussing something, and then within the twinkle of an eye, she just got angry, and then it came to an argument. She took the knife and stabbed him. Well, officer, I want you to please go talk to my wife, my fiancée. I don't need, you understand, court or whatever, investigation for me or whatever." That's what he said. My other colleague who was there and said, "No, the law provides that once you came to the police, it means that it becomes recoverable case." You understand what I'm saying? The man said, "But I don't want case. I want my case to just be resolved and need peaceful coexistence between my fiancé and I." He demanded no. So I told him, I said, "Look, you know, my dad came fresh from AMU, from one of the Sahel school. So criminal justice mindset, and he began to go on that argument. So later on, I complained, he followed me, and we got there. Look at the lady and look at the first thing you look at the man, he has strength with the lady. Will he retaliate within that process? It will be more. You understand? So I just told him, I said, "Look at the husband, he said, tears. See what you have done to me. Why did you do this?" The girl burst out into cry, lie down on her fiancé, and begin to beg for mercy. Said, "I don't know what kind." Right there, the situation will resolve. The guy said, "Please, please." When you try to appreciate, I said, "No, we have just come to be able to give you what we do as a police officer." My man who was saying, "Well, you want John Devo, I get to study." I said, you understand? So these things come around. There are a lot of cases that we can be able to have a peaceful resolution other than just going to the law or to the court to say we want to do X, Y, Z. So the ADR, which of course require, we are doing a lot of consultation with the traditional people also, because we talk about traditional justice system. You understand? Those are all challenges. Due process of law, what's about the traditional justice system? Because before the civil justice came in, you have other, you understand, the traditional justice system with our elders carrying on other judgment. So I think this process of this due process also need to be explained at the level of the traditional people. that they will be able to understand how to be able to go about whether people having their rights, whether people are being respected, and all of those things. So we are doing a lot of consultation amongst our elders, and they are buying the idea that indeed the process of the ADR is very genuine and key, which of course will be relief to the level of where it's happening at pretrial detention at the level of the court. So basically at the level of the police station, everywhere, land dispute, you have people conducting ADR in conformity with the statute of law that have been developed so that we can have a common understanding to reduce the process at the level of the code and at the level of the moral center prison. Thank you very much. I stopped this far.
That was great, but so that was it for this part of the session. We still have Janet Riggs, if she's there. Janet, are you there?
Ask questions.
Yes, please. Yeah. Question.
Yeah, kia ora, John. Hope everyone's well there today. I just had a question for the officer in regards to the due process. How, in terms of flexibility, how does that differ from African customary law to the law that you have today in terms of the flexibility for how it was done in the old days and now how it is done today in terms of, the way you try to help the community if they get into trouble. So say we take a young man, one of our young sons or nephews gets into trouble. How is that? Is there a balance? Is there an opportunity? Like I come from New Zealand, and in New Zealand, if a young man gets into trouble, he doesn't necessarily have to go through the legal process. He has to go through his customary place where he's from, and then he's given an opportunity to do good. How does that differ from the laws there, officer?
And to get you clear, are you talking about the customary law?
Yeah, African customary law in relation to the law you have today.
Okay, that's a very good question. Very, very, very silly question that you raised. And that has been the confusion within our judicial system with that of the customary law and the constitutional law. There have been some confusion within them, wherein the elders are saying that before the coming in of the constitutional law, the customary law was into being, it was into practice, how to go about carrying on and implementing the justice system at the level of the traditional aspect is a little bit different from how the Constitution with regards to our own legal proceeding is absolutely different. So there are differences. That's why we try to seek consultation with the ADR aspect that we try to introduce so that those laws, we can be able to bring it together and synchronize them so that it cannot be other jurisprudence outside of the jurisprudence of the law. So, well, how do we do that? About a legal practitioner with that, because the argument has been so forth and backfold and backward. In fact, in recent time, the court, I think in one of the counties, ordered the traditional people to go to jail because there was some proceeding that they were not consulted. One of their members were being held, and then the court did not consult them, rather, but take some standard decision against their members. So they said that they were not above, and they brought in traditional devil outside all kinds of things, and that caused a serious confusion. And then the chief justice had to order their arrest and all of things. So there are these kind of consultation and what have you that going through. So you ask a very good question. Customary law and constitutional law are things that we actually confused in. But again, with the coming of the ADR, there are a lot of consultation that we are doing to be able to synchronize and bring all of the aspects of the law together so it can be one principle. And some of the traditional practices that they go through, for example, if somebody stole in the interior, some of them will say that, okay, they have what we call the traditional wood that they use, put it on your feet, and when the fire burn you, and then you are liable, you're the one caused the problem. So how is it proven, to be scientific under the law? So those are issues. They are saying that they have been practicing it and they understand their role from the traditional perspective. So this kind of confusion, we're trying to, lawyers and legal practitioners trying to see how best they can be able to join them together and have some legal proceeding on it that will be right in compliance with the law and due process.
Thank you for that, officer, because what I was going to illustrate in New Zealand, so this is a marae. This little place here is a marae. And so in terms of our customary laws, the New Zealand legal system and the traditional legal system, they work together. So for example, a young man gets into trouble, well, then he goes to his tribe, and his tribe can actually do on a lower level. If somebody takes a life, well, then he's gone past the point of where they can help him. But sometimes, in some incidences, the court, the constitutional court does allow it to happen if the punishment is in line with what should happen. Now, in this process, because they interviewed a lot for Māori Pacifica men, and a lot of them, they didn't respect the law, but they respected their customary rights and their customary laws. And so it had a bit of a separation or discongruent, because the kids didn't respect the law, but they went home to their native lands and they respected their elders there. And so New Zealand has tried to work it so they can work together, and understand. So then it gives an opportunity for a young man who's been raised with his traditional families to then go forward and in a lot of cases, about 90% of the cases, they actually turned around and started doing good for society rather than keep reoffending. So I was very interested with our African brothers and sisters, how it does work, because I know in New Zealand we've had that, but we have it's always been different, but I know it does help. It does help the healing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So for our audience, we want to pause the questions after the panel has spoken, then we can raise the question, then we just conclude. So Janet, are you there now? James Papa, are you there? James?
I'm here. I said, I just wanted to ask one question before going to my presentation.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner, for speaking very well to us today. But I want to ask you this question. What are those best practices you guys are putting into place when it comes to due process of law in Liberia? Because in my mind, it starts from you first before to the court.
Thank you so much. That's a very good question. I think at the level of the Liberian National Police, these things, we try to put the necessary mechanism into place. And one of the areas that we are working on, we have what we call the Professional Standard Division of the Liberian National Police. Their roles and responsibility is to be able to checkmate police officer, their activity, monitor these activities at the level of the police station, monitor that citizens get their rights and due process under the due process of law. And of course, we also have the public complaint. We also have the policies management board and that is the civilian complaint board. These are areas that are outside the jurisdiction of the police, that when a police officer went wrong against his ethics, the responsibility, which of course has to do with the way he investigates. If I'm a senior police officer, like I said to you, I went at the police station and I saw maybe an investigation ongoing, We have the right, although our policy, that when things are going wrong, we have the right to make an injection. And that officer can be complained and that officer can be penalized. Once it reached at the level of the professional standard division, that particular officer can be complained. You understand? So these are measures that have been put in place to be able to have those kind of mechanisms be addressed at the level of the police station when it comes to the due process of law, when it comes to officer doing a lot of things that is not in compliance with the due process of law.
Thank you.
Yeah, so James, if you are there now, you have the floor to do your presentation. Then we'll go back to the audience after all the people ask questions.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to everyone there for the patience, for taking up your time to come and see or hear those good things from our inspector, like the commissioner, from our lawyers, and that of us. So we would like to say, in my mind, I'm a Liberian anyway. My name is James Wakwangbai. I hail from Bone County, a social worker and vice president for the Bone University Graduate Association. So, hello?
Hello, go ahead, we are listening.
Okay, so the issue of due process of law is always positive. It's always positive in a sense that it helps every growth and length of a country. So if you have a country that follows the due process of law, it means that everyone will have equal rights and justice. So you will not find anyone taking disadvantage of anyone, regardless of your status in society. So, and due process of law did not just start today. It started since June 1215 BC, when King John of England promised not to imprison or exile or destroy any free man or his property, except by a lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. So it tells us that due process did not just start today or yesterday. It started since the BC of this earth. So we want to encourage everyone to take that role of going through the law to be able to have a fair and equal justice as a citizen or as any given human being that exists on the face of the earth. Because the good thing about it, it helps stop confusion. Due process of law helps you grow more in your country, develop more in your country. It helps due process of law help war from not entering your country. Due process of law come with plenty of positive things. Because if you follow the due process, I will have no option. If I am wrong today in court and accept my wrongdoing, I will have no case to go back and do the wrongs anymore. So we say due process of law it comes with plenty of positive things. It comes with development. It comes with a lot of things that helps all of us when it comes to us living on earth. Not only Liberia, but the world at large. But then I say, in our country, Liberia, the due process of law is not being followed. Let me speak of Liberia, because we feel to ourselves that, one, we don't follow up. We took a case to the court, and then because we feel that we don't have money, we stop it right there, and then we turn our back on that case. That's one of the major things I have observed in Liberia. We don't follow cases. And if you follow in cases, automatically you will get the result, the positive results that you want from that case. Meaning, if the police will send you to court and that court, in my right mind, follow the due process of law, you will not be imprisoned for any unlawful thing. So I say to you today, my brothers and sisters who are listening to us, we want to say the due process of law is very positive, is very good, and the negative side of it, it brings to the mind a lot of destructions. It brings to your mind the issue of bringing war to the country. It brings to your mind the issue of not developing your community. That's the negative side of it, because once you are not fairly judged, you are not going to work well in your community. You are not you sometimes leave that community, and then maybe you want to plan a war or anything. You go into the bush and turn to rebel, and then decide to use that means to come back and get some fair judgment. So I said no. So we say to all of us, to you listening, the due process of law is positive for all of us to follow the due process of law. I know it is challenging in Liberia, where judges will send people to honor detention. They are not going to court for them to be sentenced. They keep them in prison for years, which is very bad for our country. We asking and advocating, like the Bonn University graduate, continue to advocate that we all join together and advocate to our international partners to help us build our judiciary system and train our judges and train our lawyers to be able to follow the right path. Meaning, if you go to the court, you should be processed as soon as possible and sentenced if you are wrong, or you should be set free as soon as possible if you are not wrong. So we continue those advocacy. We asking all of us Liberians to join in hands to do more advocacy to our international partners to help us bring light to our judiciary system, because those lights are not showing in the judiciary system. So right now you will find out that our prison company is overcrowded. A lot of detainees are there because they have not been judged. They have not been following the due process of law, so they just send them there and keep them there for those years, for those months in the central prison. And sometimes, like I said to our commissioner, the police always in the habit of not following the due process of law. They feel that if a man comes and don't have money, it means that he should not have right, which I said, no, we need to educate. So that we got a professional standard at the National Police Headquarters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. That was very great on your part. You made the quota by presenting the session. We applaud you for that. Thank you so much. So the next speaker we have will be Janet Grace. Janet, are you there? Janet, are you there? Okay, Janet is not there. We now want to turn to the audience based on what you've heard from the speaker. James, we hope you are there.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
We want to turn to the audience. If there's no question, then we can, yeah.
Actually, you are discussing about this process and who the actual cause of this. The causes of actual cause of this process.
She wants to know what causes due process. Why provoke due process?
Okay, I think I can answer them. What provoke due process? You know, we all are human beings, right? We are liable to mistake, and sometimes people commit crime. You understand? Nobody is on exception to crime. It's the everything. So, what happens if somebody maybe did something to you? You did something to somebody. That's the provocation of due process. Stand ready. Crime occur, right? When somebody gets hit and then get hurt, crime has taken place, right? So in that process, once the police appear there, that process of due process already started. But the provocation of the due process, meaning that people will get fair trial and treatment, meaning that even if I commit something, I will be able to receive fair judgment and trial. The police should not do like this. Or when somebody does something to me, and then I went to the police station, then the police start to discriminate because of status in society, because of different kind of affiliation in society. So within that interest, due process can be hidden because people with that interest, people will start calling, people will start doing this, people will start doing X, Y, Z. And then we also have to make a call, due process, the issue of salability. Somebody owes somebody money. Police down is investigating the case. Should police be investigating your case? You understand? So that's what provoked due process. Look at the aspects of what is the only tool during the process aspect that people will get fair treatment. When you receive fair treatment, you're not going to question the police, are not going to your place, are not getting money to go there. What will you do? That's why crime has been combated. Because people feel that indeed justice is not being served in equal. So that's what the rule of law comes in the law. Equality before the law, fairness before the law. Meaning that you and then make a vote, you myself, even regardless of being a police officer, if I did something to you, if 2 hours went to the police station, we must go over the due process of law that will be able to handle the case properly with all them be looking at it as an assistant commissioner of police. In that aspect, my whole past, I have to be disrupted. Firstly, I'm no longer a police officer at that moment. I've become a private citizen and I have committed something against somebody and I must go through under the due process of law. But in the interim where it becomes a policeman, then the organization is shielding, trying to say, man, do the all, they can't go down. We start the case and go, we got evidence to this. We satisfied. So that's the publication of due process.
Thank you very much. Yes.
The commissioner tells us something like that. There are just 2 things that I want to understand from a common man. We all know that when in our neighbor communities, when an act is committed against us, the first move of contact is the police station. And I've witnessed it firsthand, been affected several occasions. That the first thing a policeman will tell you at the police station is a arresting fee. That's one. If you should pay them before they carry out arrest. 2, people that were in prison or were being detained, whenever they are about to be released, they can all ask for something to the desk. You should pay them first before they can even pull it out. Or even if you carry a case, you have to pay something before it can be looked into. Next.
Yeah, so that's the reason why, in every students, like the police, which is the first component of the criminal justice. These things should not be happening. When we look at the corruption index of the police in the whole world or in Africa, other countries start over. Nigeria has been doing well to some extent because we are putting the reform mechanism in place. You understand? It's not only limited to Nigeria. You understand? So, police not supposed to do that. But the thing is, are there remedies to this situation? In police, and the police organization will got something called collective indictment. When one person does wrong, it reflects on the entire organization. That's why they say the police is the mirror of the society. In fact, if you want to know whether a country is in right standing with the law, watch the attitude and behavior of the policeman. Just stay in the watch for 5 minutes. Any country you enter, watch the behavior and attitude of that police will tell you whether that system is a lawless society or lawful society. So when it comes to this thing under the due process of law, these are things that provoke the due process that you asked about. The area of the police is not place for you to pay bond. There is nothing called bond fee. That's why at the level of the police, we can't apply the own code, don't bribe the police. But again, system, people feel adapted to system. Even they see that on a big board, not telling for me, in fact, they won't get you, others also haven't be able to get you. So if those kind of proceeding, the giver and the receiver under the law, they are also guilty of the crime of bribery. Don't bribe the police. Did you lodge a complaint when the police officer did that? We have numbers that we are left. That's why most of the time I'm going to community engagement. I tell all of my officers, these are community police officers across the country. When these things are happening, get the number and call. There is a police officer that is telling them I'm gay and quasi. Many of our community people have called me on those situations. If I ask the police, they say, gee, I didn't say so. You understand? So those things are different to the due process of law. And that's the reason why we encourage you to say, don't be able to start the process. So because I want to see Joe Mary in jail. Some people say, I don't want to see her in jail. She will do everything that she can to make sure that Mary will go to jail. Because when Mary and one day for me, power in the community, the only reason why she wants Mary to go to jail, so Mary will come out and despair her. And she will do everything that she can do to get a police officer money so that Mary can go to jail.
So please let us give the commissioner want to conclude this session because we are operating according to time. We should have 2 minutes. So just in quick seconds, can we hear from the public few questions as to why is the take away? Why are we taking away 1 or 2 words?
Yeah, I'm keep up the estimate. I listened to the 2 speakers, meaning Mr. Park. For which there are a lot of things I'm learning just in a paragraph where first they ask to do due process, right? I'm not going to trust that. And then the due process tells me as a citizen that I have more right, on engaging the law than being ignorant to the law. Sorry, I'm not really. So I'm also trying to understand the fact that the police themselves are, they are ignorant to the law. So if they are ignorant to the law, as a citizen, what the issue I do? So I don't want to ask that.
Police is not ignorant. Police is not ignorant to the law.
So the law.
I'm saying, police, medical doctor, lawyer, they are not ignorant to their profession. A police officer is a legal practitioner. Because you understand law. You want an academy to get criminal procedure, all of those stuff. But the policeman will blind their eyes on the law. Because you know that you are ignorant. You see you're ignorant of the law to get what he's going to get. You understand? So the policeman is not ignorant of the law. He knows what he's doing. But mind you, once you connect learning and teaching that you are done it, if you challenge a policeman at the police station, you will get. You say, but then any policeman that you challenge, you can be a friend. Because you know that you understand the law. When you are in the
for me, they also learn that the work of police not only the rest, but also provide solution.
To provide solution, that's not work. I provide solution. That's not work.
Okay, thank you very much.
In all cases.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, Gordius, this has brought us to the end of our session. We appreciate so far what we delivered. And we next time hope we can have a longer time to go on. But for now, we have concluded the session. Thank you very much for being there and giving us the support. If you have anything to say, Gordius, you could make one statement.
Thank you, John.
Okay. That's great. Thank you.
Be there for the health session.
So we have the health session coming up in an hour's time. And Dr. Benson is requesting your support as will be